Welcome to The Explainer, where we break down complex topics into clear, engaging explainers. Today, we're tackling a really big one, a massive change to India's labor laws.
So, what exactly are these new wage rules, and why should you care? Well, we're talking about a single new code that's meant to simplify decades of really complicated, tangled-up laws. This is going to affect how wages are calculated, how you get paid, and how that paycheck is protected for hundreds of millions of people.
For the longest time, wages in India were governed by a messy patchwork of laws. So the goal of this new code on wages is, honestly, pretty simple. Take four major acts and all their separate rules and just merge them. The idea is to create one single, streamlined system that's easier for everyone to understand and enforce.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We'll look at the new code itself, who it covers, how your minimum wage gets decided, how your paycheck is protected, the new deal with bonuses, and finally, who's going to make sure everyone actually follows these rules.
All right, first up, let's get into the foundation of this whole new system.
You know, this didn't just happen overnight. This journey, as you can see, goes back almost a century. We've had law after law piling up for decades. Then, in 2019, the Code on Wages finally gets passed to unify everything. And the draft rules we're talking about came out in 2020, setting the stage for this massive change.
So who do these rules actually affect? Well, it all depends on your job and where you do it. Let's dive into the definitions, because they are absolutely key to how all the wage calculations work. The new code classifies every job into one of four skill levels. You've got unskilled, semi-skilled, skilled, and highly skilled. And this is way more than just a label. This classification is the exact basis for setting different minimum wage tiers all across the country.
And it's not just what you do, it's where you do it. The code creates three different geographical zones: metropolitan, non-metropolitan, and rural, all based on population. This is to make sure wages reflect the local cost of living. So a mechanic in a big city is going to have a different minimum wage than one in a rural village. It just makes sense.
So how do these two things, skill and location, come together to make an actual wage? Let's get into the nitty-gritty of how the minimum wage itself is calculated. Now, this is pretty fascinating. The government is trying to use a kind of scientific, needs-based formula. It starts with a standard family of three. It calculates their food needs, right down to the calorie, and their clothing needs. Then, it tacks on percentages for housing and other essentials. The goal is to come up with a wage that actually covers the basics of life. This creates a really important two-tier system. First, the central government sets a national floor wage. Think of this as the absolute baseline that no state can go below. Then, each state sets its own minimum wage, which has to be at least as high as the floor, but can be higher based on local factors. It's a national safety net with local adjustments.
Okay, it's not just about what you earn. It's also about what you actually get to take home.
Here is a brand new hard limit, 50%. An employer cannot deduct more than half of your total monthly wages, period. Doesn't matter if it's for fines, advances, or housing. This cap is there to make sure you always take home at least half of the money you've earned. And what about when it comes to deducting for damages or loss? There's a new three-step process. First, the employer has to explain the problem in writing. Second, you get a chance to tell your side of it. And only then can a deduction be made. It's all about ensuring transparency and your right to be heard.
The code also gives the complex rules around annual bonuses a major overhaul, all the name of predictability.
This whole set on versus set off thing is a clever system to smooth out bonus payments. In a great year, if there's extra profit for bonuses, that amount is set on. Basically, it's saved for the future. In a lean year, if there's a shortfall, that deficit is set off, like an IOU to be paid from future profits. It's designed to stop bonus payments from swinging wildly from one year to the next.
But this balancing act can't go on forever. Both the surpluses and the deficits can only be carried forward for 4 years. This is really important because it keeps the bonus calculation tied to a company's recent performance, not something that happened ages ago.
All right, finally, who makes sure all these rules are actually followed? Let's take a look at the Central Advisory Board.
Take a look at the makeup of this board. It is deliberately built for balance. You've got equal numbers of people representing employers and employees, then you add in independent experts and state government reps to make sure all sides are heard when it comes to setting wage policy.
And the board has to follow some pretty strict rules. Members have 2-year terms, and they have to show up, or they risk getting kicked off. And here's something that's a really big deal. At least 1/3 of the board members must be women, which embeds gender diversity right into the heart of policymaking.
The new code is also incredibly detailed. I mean, it covers even the rarest of situations. For example, what happens if a worker's pay goes unclaimed for 7 years? The money doesn't just disappear. It gets handled by the central government, which just goes to show how thorough these rules are trying to be.
So the big question is, with one code to rule them all, will India's new wage system actually be simpler and fairer for everyone? The goal is clear, but a law on paper is one thing. The real test is going to be how it's implemented across such a vast and diverse country.
And that's our look at India's new wage code. Thanks for watching The Explainer. Stay curious.